Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to REDCast, the official podcast of the Regional Elite Draft League. I am your host Regenix, and this week, joining me on the cast, we have a great selection of people from around the community here to cover all of the Week 3 action in the league. So without further ado, our first guest this week is none other than Nathan22, community moderator and long-term veteran of the league. How are you this evening, sir, or day, whatever time it is for you out there in America?
Oh, just had a game, no spoilers. It came down to a 50-50.
So
What's going on, REDCast?
So we're in either very high spirits or absolutely dismal spirits on your account then. Right.
One or the other.
Yep, one or the other. Wait and find out. Next up, we have the current league champion. He is a Season 3 veteran who has been a consistent force to be reckoned with. He is none other than Zappy Zapdos, coach of the PEC Buzzwole. How are you this evening?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm great, thank you for asking. You're the first guest to actually to ask how I'm doing. Wow. All you guests, rude as. Okay, and finally we have one of the hottest prospects in Blue Division joining us. The current unbeaten, had a very good run last season but unfortunately fell off the face of the earth. We have Emma Sky representing our Blue Division this week. How are you this evening?
Oh, what's up guys? I'm doing great, man.
Great, good to hear. So, week 3 action. We're a little bit behind in terms of how far along we should be, but getting hosts is a hard deal these days. So, to start with, how about we go over the week 3 trades? This was the first week that the Dutch Dragonites, coached by AbeTac13 or Clyde Frog 50, 52, 53, whichever one it is, he was able to make his entry trades. So his entry trade consists of Kangaskhan at T5 for Electabuzz, a Selgor for Quillfish, both at T4, Drapion for Hooper, both at Tier 3, and Sandslash for Pangoro, which is an upgrade from the Tier 5 Sandslash to the Tier 3. So, does anybody have some overlying thoughts for those changes?
I really like BD Bond's Breloom. I really like Breloom, but I think Kartana is enough.
You skipped ahead about 2 trades, but yeah, cool.
That's the one that's
That's the one that stand out. So I'll take it that nobody has anything to mention too heavily about Abe's trades, which is the 4 I just mentioned.
I like Pangoro.
I think Pangoro is a very undervalued mon. I do hope to see him put it to some great use, but I think just a lot of comfort trades for the lower tiers. No massive top end trades on his end really, but we'll be able to see how he makes use of them in the upcoming week. Sorry, did you mention something there, Emma? Sorry, a little bit quiet.
He just got rid of a bunch of redundant mons and picked up some stuff that gave him some more versatility on the team.
Yeah.
So I think overall they're good trades.
Absolutely. Alright, so moving on, we have the Vancouver Milotics, who traded in their Tier 1 Mega in Mega Gyarados for the Tier 1 Mega Scissor, and a Cobalion for Slowbro. So 1 bulky Steel type for another, and 1 bulky aggressive water for a bulky defensive water. I think he was generally fed up. Oh, go ahead, Nathan. Go ahead.
I like Mega Scissor and Slowbro. Kind of gives you the option to take all those fire hits. I really hope that he kind of uses Slowbro more than just like a physical wall. Maybe Trick Room every once in a while, or
get some of the niche uses out of it.
Yeah. The trades give him a lot more bulk, which he really needed. But he lost his Dark type, which personally is pretty iffy.
Yeah, it's
I'm a big fan of Scissor. Gives him more priority, and generally Scissor Slowbro is a very hard to break core. so I'm a big fan of this trait.
Excellent, excellent. And finally, Nathan can finally share on his opinion on this one. We have the Carioka Krooks, who dropped the Breloom at tier 2 to pick up the tier 1 Kartana. So go on, Nathan, how about you reiterate your point that you made previously?
I really love Breloom. Awesome. I think it's a steal at tier 2. But the matches I think that he brought to the games, I think there was a Whimsicott. It just basically shut his team down. I think the Katana gives him, obviously more speed. It doesn't give him the priority unless he's God and runs Vacuum Wave. But gives him nice steel typing to go with that Tornado. So kind of something to come in on those steel types or those bulky ground types, maybe a Stun Fist or something, some way for him to counter that. But I really like Kartana. I think everybody should have one beast
booster in the team. Oh,
yeah.
Fair analysis. Anybody else want a quick insight into this?
He dropped his only Fang type, which is kind of iffy, but I think overall the Kartana is way better.
Yeah, and I do think it'll benefit him more in the long run. Kartana's got sort of that more universal use than Breloom. As much as I love Breloom and I'm sad to see him drop it, because I wanted to see great things. Yeah. But yeah, not a huge deal to say other than that.
I think he's got a Slowking too on his team, so I mean that kind of pairs well. Same with the Slowbro Scissor kind of thing that's zapping.
Yeah. For Kartana is just a huge upgrade, and it actually gives his team a dedicated potential win con, which
every
I really
time.
like.
Yeah, excellent.
His double steel spam core thing is also.
Okay, right. So, week 3 action. There was a fair amount of it. We've had some catch-up games in the interim period, and we have one game from a previous week to cover. So we'll start there. The first game that we have to cover is from week 2. It is our good friend, the One Lonely Cow, playing JH Tech 03. So does everybody have that game loaded up on your screens? I will put it on the screen for the viewer now.
Can you call this a game?
I mean, can I call it a game? I wouldn't like to call it a game.
I just wanted to make sure it was potentially somebody would call it a game. Turn 1.
Yeah.
On my screen.
Jumping in, turn 1, we have the immediate sack of the Swellow to the close combat. Just a needless risk, especially in front of a Terrakion. So that sets the tone for how this game's going to go. Calm mind as the Sneasel comes in. For some reason, Jaime is Throat Chop.
Better than beat up.
Yeah. Depends who's using it.
Oh, he's lucky. The tech.
So the premise behind... Yeah, and this is where we realise that Lonely has nothing for Jaime's Gliscor, and it sort of sets a tone for the rest of the game.
I just don't get why Lonely Calm Mind there's a Sneasel, and then why does he set up spikes on a Gliscor switch at default, It just 2 wasted turns, I feel, that basically accomplish nothing.
Gets his Assault Vest knocked off.
Is the assault vest on the Amoonguss, or is this? Oh no, wait, this is the Krook. Sorry.
Now I will give credit to Cal because basically he has to pivot on Gliscor, Amoonguss, and Crocodile, basically intimidate and regen everything that this Gliscor can throw until I don't know if he's trying to PP stall him or what.
I just think he's in full panic mode personally. I don't think he has any clue what he's trying to do because, the lack of prep for the
Gliscor and get rid of all the intimidates.
Yeah, that seems to be the end game plan, but like in the response to that, he's lost his Assault Vest and he's already taken a load of damage. I will note on turn 16 though that Jaime makes a pretty questionable play, brings in his Blacephalon, and ends up getting caught with a foul play, which just wipes it completely out of the game.
Yeah, I think he was expecting a Giga Drain there, because that's what it's always in from the Gliscor. Yeah.
Just an unfortunate turn there. He took a risk and it didn't pay off for him. And that, you know, that's potentially one big win con for Tech gone already. But again, moving on from turn 19, we just end up in this same old rotation between Gliscor, Amoonguss, and the Crocodile, with Lonely ultimately just not being able to achieve much. He does eventually catch the Mashana with a Pursuit, barely doing 50%, if that. It's just a lot of continual rotating around this. The Reflect and the Toxic from Mashana as well, from turn 28 to 30.
It's a case of Lonely can't break Timmy's bulk.
Yeah, it seems like a case of like really harsh misprep on his end.
If he still had the Swell around here, I'm pretty sure that would have been able to KO the Gliscor, but then he let that die turn 1, which just sort of set the tone for the rest of the game.
Yeah. I mean, it is... I think he does manage to do something about the Gliscor with this Carmine Latios at turn 38, yeah. Jaime, again, makes a strange sack and gets rid of Sneasel, which is by far his best way to revenge the Latios. I'm not too sure on these plays. It feels like, you know, this one...
I think he would Bruce something or Calm Mind.
Yeah, but do you still want to take that risk? Like, it's a big...
I think you stack whatever was in front of it. You knock off, you know, because it's Calm Mind, so it's not like raising his physical defense.
Yeah, you just bring in the Sneasel to revenge afterwards with an Icicle Crash or a knock.
At that point, I think the sack was the Ampharos.
Maybe so. I'm going to keep shuffling through because this battle is just way too drawn out. Turn 50, the Latios comes in again for another Calm Mind. And is able to take out the Mashana with a devastating Drake. Psyshock only... for some reason only goes for Psyshock here instead of the Dragon Pulse, and only does 56%, which is a bit wild considering that's a +2 Latios. He is able to take it out on the next roll. But Toxic is already taking its toll and it's in range from Scarf Close Combat. And this is sort of where the game sort of actually has a change of pace for once, I think.
Stacking Gliscor was a misplay.
I'd agree, yeah, for sure. Here we see Cotton Guard, Ampharos.
Which kind of just game like game.
Didn't Lonely bring this against Jaime in their relegation match, the Cotton Guard net? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So, oh, actually, yeah, that's a very good point. This is like revenge.
Tables.
Unfortunately, like, you can just see the way the game is going because he doesn't seem to have any way to break down the Ampharos at this point. He's just having to continually...
Guard, though, Infernape probably just wins from this point, depending on the set.
Yeah.
Only sacked his main breaker turn 1, and then he sacked his Revenger. And then Jane sacked his Revenge Killer to Latios on a misprediction, which kind of just led to this infinite stalwart. And then as soon as Lonely got in the Latios safely, he basically just got 2 free kills, which led to him getting a lot more momentum.
Yeah, for sure, completely agree. It's just a T-Bolt and HP Ice War. I'm trying to move through this as quick as possible without missing any of the key moments of the game here. Klefki goes down at turn 80. Interesting, at turn 81, the Infernape is able to come in and get a Nasty Plot up as Jaime rests.
Then 82 and 83, he misses 2 Focus Blasts.
Yeah, and this was pretty grim hacks because I think this was like, despite everything, the last chance that he had to win the game. Yeah, and then it wakes up and paralyzes with the with the Thunderbolt, and that wouldn't have been so bad if he didn't also get first turn paralysis as well, because if he was able to take out this Ampharos right there, then the Amoonguss is able to 1v1 the Tarak, I think.
I think it was Vacuum Wave Infernape, so he just wins off of that anyway, 2-0.
Ah, right, fair enough. Well, presuming he doesn't get full parried on one of the following turns, hypothetically. But there we go.
Focus Blasts, but he would have been fine. But yeah, that was a brutal bit of hacks there at the end.
So,
to lose like that.
one quick question, Al. You went for Clear Smog on the first rid of the +6 defense. Didn't you like Giga Drain? I mean, you didn't have any other physical attacker.
Yeah. I suppose he was maybe just trying to get Foul Play to do as much damage as possible, because it obviously takes into account the defense boosts. Because it would have done more than the resisted hit from Giga Drain.
Maybe. I just didn't get why you Clear Smog, because you do no damage as opposed to Giga Drain, and he never went for Foul Play. But I mean, I still think Cal could have won this.
He went for Foul Play turn 88, 86 onwards. So he Clear Smogs on turn 86, 87. He then just spams Foul Play because that would have done more damage to the Ampharos than a resisted Giga Drain. The thing is that it's affected by the Cotton Guard boosts. So with Cotton Guard up, Giga Drain did do more damage, but he can remove the boosts and then do chip. It's all like irrelevant either way, because at this point, like he'd completely lost the match. You know, yeah, the power on Infernape pretty much secured the game for Jaime. So
yeah,
all in all, it's a game with a lot of misplays on both ends. But I think Lonely's misprep for the Gliscor, and then a bit of unfortunate luck when he did finally have a chance with the Infernape, or when he got an opening with the Infernape, just ended up costing him the remainder of the game, I think. It is unfortunate, but it's sometimes how the game goes. Hopefully you can pick it up in future weeks. So, any final comments on that game?
Nope.
No? None from Nathan? I can see Zappy's name lighting up, but he's not talking. Are we having mic troubles?
Nothing really on that game.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to the doubles.
Right. Okay, so now that we've got that week 2 catch up out the way, we can actually get along with the... That is the wrong game. Or early previews. My bad.
Okay.
Right, technical error on my end. That's fine. Moving on to our Blue Division games. We have... I think my games are all in a messed up order. Hang on. What's our first week? Why did these all get mixed up? Oh no.
Oh, I think I skipped one. It should be Matrix Jock.
Yeah, Matrix and Jock is the one I'm currently looking for. But for some reason it got moved to the end of my list instead of the beginning. Right, okay, so I'm going to actually put that game up on my screen now. Apologies to the viewers, you've just been subject to my poor technical skills. Right, so opening game for the Blue Division, we have the Carolina Lycanrocs, coached by Matrix, taking on the Dunfermlinoones, coached by Jock, in a matchup with two players that have had less than admirable starts to the season, would be the best way to put it, I think.
That's fair.
Both players looking to pick up a win for sure, in terms of being able to sort their to sort their seasons out. So how about we any comments to make on the team matchup before we jump in?
I've got notes, but I don't know if you want me to reveal them just yet as spoilers.
I mean, if you've got any notes on matchup, share them. But if they're notes to sort of go through the game, just tell me when you want to sort of release a note, and I'll pause on that point. But
the only thing that I like on Matrix was he brought a Minior against Celeste.
yeah, questionable choice of Pokemon there when your opponent has two pretty steady checks to it.
Looking at the matchup, it just looks like Jock has such a good matchup. He has like at least 2 or 3 answers for everything on Matrix's side.
Yeah, for sure, agree.
The main thing I want to say is that Rakunit actually puts on a lot of pressure on Jock's team.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, for sure.
Alright, so let's jump into the game. Normal speed, let's go. Latios versus Garchomp, the lead. Carmine from Matrix's end and walks onto the end of a Dragon Claw. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure why he'd risk that amount of damage, but it pays off as Latios is able to break through the Haban Berry and KO the Garchomp. Then we have a bit of back and forth between both teams' fire types. Nihilego able to come in.
He sacked
his
Arcanine for pretty much no reason.
Turn 4, don't understand why he sacked right there.
Okay, this is a play that I did not like. Turn 5. I mean, I didn't like the Arcanine.
That's the Arcanine's turn 4, so the sack to Nihilego, yeah?
So, Nihilego's now at +1 against Araquanid. Zappy said this Araquanid basically puts a damper on a lot of his team, which we'll see in the next like 4 or 5 plays. But he's at +1, being bugged, real power gem. I don't know what the exact calc is. I don't know why Jock's out.
I suppose the one big fear on Jock's end would have been Sash Araquanid, because
there could have been Charty.
Yeah, Charty or Sash Araquanid would have been the big scares, because both of those are able to essentially just kill the Nihilego. But
did the Terrakion, Zonage still had to like kill me even after the Charty there.
Yeah.
On the 5th death side. Heavily on the 5th death side. I think the Nihilego, I can run the calc while you talk, but I'm sure it would have done quite a lot. It doesn't.
He doesn't have like any switches to Nihilego, so I think preserving Nihilego there was the right play, rather than risking him being a Charty or Sash.
Yeah. I mean, hindsight.
Everything.
The Araquanid now goes on to start putting huge amounts of pressure, as we see from turn 6 onwards. It does heavy chip to the Blastoise and then absolutely smashes the Sylveon. So yeah, the huge amount of pressure that it does put on is crazy, and then it's able to get webs up, which forces the Blastoise back in, forces that to take a liquidation at 25%, which is just wild. It is still faster than the Araquanid for some reason. That was fairly unexpected.
It might be running or something.
And it's pretty slow. He probably just didn't have any investment.
Go ahead.
Even though it hits nothing.
I see Matrix go for Giga Drain, so I'm assuming it's like a negative nature, like Brave or something. He has Giga
maybe.
Drain, but later on he reveals
it's for the Seismitoad.
Yeah, potentially. That's an option. Turn 17. Turn 16. Florges is Florges sets up a wish and then is swapped in for Latios, which just gets dropped to an Air Slash.
And at this point, he's just letting Celesteela get beast boosts.
It seemed suboptimal as a play. He is able to come back in with Araquanid and reset the webs, but now this Celesteela is at +2 defense and really doesn't care about anything that's going on that Matrix can do. Aside from like, hang on, let's have a look.
I love the Minior.
Yeah, and you can see from like from the second that Celesteela got the second defense boost, it was always going to be a done deal. The Manio wasn't able to set up with anything. And the floor
I think the turn he lost Arcanine, he kind of just lost the game.
Yeah, because he lost his main check to Celesteela for sure.
He shouldn't have set. He kept that, tried to get up some damage on Celesteela, and maybe tried to go for like a maybe clean with Minior.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree. Yeah, I also agree with those points.
He could have done differently is go for Icicle Crash flinches with the Weavile instead of clicking knockoff, but game off of that.
It feels like a losing situation there because you know you're still not going to be able to do enough damage to like a +2, +3 defense Celesteela. Even if you do get all like you'd have to get like Serene Grace levels of flinch to be able to KO like that thing.
Or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it just feels like the Matrix just hasn't been able to sort of get the hang of the team. I understand that he's maybe a bit time constrained recently, but it feels like a lot of the mistakes kind of start in preparation, and then they're not helped by certain plays made in the game.
I think he brings Minior too much. Like looking at Jock's team, Minior wasn't gonna do.
Yeah, Manio was definitely a suboptimal bring on his end. Any closing comments on this game? Any notes you want to share there, Nathan? Or
I just didn't like his prep. I really hope he picks it up a notch, because he comes up with maybe one good creative set of game from what I've seen, but he kind of reveals it a little bit too early, or something happens and his team just crumbles, it seems, once his niche or technique or tech goes down.
yeah, he does seem to build too heavily around those aspects, I think.
Jock just prepped and played well. He didn't have to really do anything outlandish to win.
Yeah, I mean a couple of misplays around the Araquanid. Given that it's set, I agree with Nathan that just not attacking the Araquanid straight up was a bit of was like an iffy-ish play, but given the threat that Sash or Charty could have provided, given that it's often used as a suicide lead for webs, I can kind of understand Jock's caution around there in treating Nihilego as a bigger win con.
That she brings in Blastoise next turn in rapid spins and kills it. I mean, as opposed to weakening half his team, but I mean overall, Jock got them.
Yeah, you can't complain too greatly. Right.
Yeah, I think Jock just had matchup. He just didn't need to make any plays to win.
Cool.
To say that since I've mainly been talking about Matrix, Jock's prep and play outside of the kind of questionable Nihilego play actually looks really solid. Like I don't really see any hole in this team at all. So I wanna applaud him for that. I think he did very well this week.
Excellent. I'm sure he'll greatly appreciate the praise. Right, shall we move on to our next match, which is the Virginia Escaviliers versus the newly inducted Dutch Dragonites. So that is Arctic Weavile taking on Abe Tech / Clyde Frog / whatever else he's known for or known as. So, matchup is going up on screen. So we see the Alomomola, Blacephalon, Steelix, Latias, and Nidoqueen and the Linoone on the side of Arctic, and the Hooper, Clefable, Mega Charizard X. His is X, right? It's not Y.
X.
Yes.
Yeah, it is
This
X.
is X.
Just double checking my facts. The Rotom Wash, the Mew, and the Steelix. I think, yeah, it's Mega Steelix on Arctic's end.
Add them all.
Yeah. So, none of the trades that Abe really made coming to this game, he seemed quite content to.
Tubu, I think, was a trade.
Which one?
Tubu.
Was it? Did I completely mess that up? Oh, I did. Yeah, sorry, it was a trade for the Drapion. Yeah, so one new edition of the induction trades coming up. Any comments for the two teams before we head into the game?
It looks like the Dragonites really have the matchup here, especially like with just the Hoopa.
Yeah, it does seem to be able to put in a lot of dents if it gets in, especially as a Scarf variant. Does need to be careful of the Linoone, I think, if it's Scarf, but I do think it can.
I quickly want to know.
Do in this game, like looking at the matchup. Winning.
Did you want to add something there, Zappy?
Blacephalon actually destroys Abe's team, so that's the main thing I think Arctic is going. Like Shadow Ball basically destroys him, so he's definitely Abe is definitely forced to bring either Spadef Unaware Clef or like AV Rotom, which both can be taken advantage of. So that's probably gonna be gone for this game.
Yeah.
Well, the Linoone gets dunked out too, so I mean, that brings Spadef. I mean, I guess basically makes him choose a 50-50.
Yeah. I think so as well. Alright, so jumping straight in, turn 1. We've got the Mega Steelix versus the Mega Charizard. Both
Steelix versus Mega Charizard.
Is it Mega Steelix versus Mega Charizard?
No, Steelix versus Charizard.
It's Mega Steelix versus Charizard, yeah.
Is it a regular Charizard?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, that's right.
What? I'm confused. Right.
Mega Steelix versus Mega Charizard.
Both of them start with the Megas. That was the point I was trying to get at. And then both of them immediately switch out for fear of one another.
Yeah. They make a pretty good read with Shadow Ball on the Mew.
Yeah, it does. It is heavy damage. I mean, that was a pretty ballsy play on Arctic's end to sort of make that prediction for sure. I don't know. There's not like a great deal to say about the early game. It's all fairly standard. Both players are just pivoting around their bulky mons and picking their switches as wisely as they can. Nobody's really taking particularly heavy damage apart from the Mew until about turn 9 when we get the first big exchange, which is Sludge Wave for 50% onto Abe's Rotom in return for a Hydro Pump hit and a KO on Arctic's Nidoqueen.
I don't like that play.
No, I'm not.
Such a safe switch into the Lottie.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm also not a huge fan. Trick Latias as well is a good catch for the Clef. So excellent play on his end. Unfortunately,
so I'm at turn 13 now. Is that where you guys are at?
I'm currently on turn. Yeah, I've just switched over to turn 13, which is
13.
Earth Power Steelix.
Can heat.
I'm assuming it's up to like
Non-Mega 1v1 to Mega.
Excellent.
I think that was just an awesome prep.
Yeah, very good prep. Was it sheer force Earth Power Steelix? Whew, that is some good quality tech right there. The Blacephalon, like Zappy said, is straight away able to pick up its first KO with that Shadow Ball. on turn 15.
I don't like him. I don't like the Dragonites hacking off the Star decks there.
Yeah, it did seem a little bit premature, but you have to pick one in that situation. I'd maybe be more so inclined to pick Mew as the sack. But then again,
Because it's crippled with the Scarf at that point, but
I mean, the Clef is still capable of doing something. He's able to take the risk on it not being a Scarf Blacephalon. And go into Hooper. Crit Psyshock on the Alomomola. Kind of unfortunate, because it is gonna have to force him to play more conservatively around Regenerator, I think. Both players. I'm at turn 18.
Pause when you're there at turn 21, I believe.
Yep, turn 19.
Yeah,
The Latias goes down to the Shadow Ball, and then the Belly Drum set up onto the Clef. Onto the Clef switch. Turn 20. Yeah. Okay. Any comments?
Turn 22 and
Turn 22. The Crit Moonblast.
22. The E-speed play on
And it
I
doesn't.
didn't like the
Yeah, and it doesn't end up doing enough. Yeah.
He's gonna do anything this game anyway, to be honest.
I mean, I suppose it does come in and get revenged by Hooper. I guess that's the heads and tails of it. That if Clef didn't take it out in that situation, then Hooper comes in and revenges it anyway, because it doesn't have any moves that are capable of. It can't outspeed because it's a scarfed Hooper, isn't it?
The main thing I'm trying to say is that if Hooper wanted to revenge kill the Linoon, he'd be forced to lock himself into something that's not Shadow Ball. So he could have then maybe tried to wish up Alamomola on a Psyshock and try to, from there, potentially win. I don't know, I don't think just clicking E-speed was the play.
Correct.
I think he was AV Aloe, so he didn't actually have a wish on it.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Was it wishless Aloe?
Yeah.
Oof.
I'm pretty sure.
And that's the Psyshock as well from the Mew, able to take out the Blacephalon.
Well, did Aloma
Alomomola?
knockoff? Yes.
Yeah, it did have knockoff.
So it could knock off the Scarf and like that. He would have had more options.
Well, you know, then you're getting into the territory of would Abe have stayed in? And knockoff had been revealed early in the game, so I think Abe was aware that Mola had it. And yeah.
I just think he had no option. Once he went for that E-speed and kill the Clef.
Yeah.
It was just GG.
Yeah, it was game from there.
It kind of
This game was just kind of Arctic not having any switch into the Hoopa.
Yeah,
So
agree.
you don't draft dark types.
Or not having a half decent check to the Hooper as well is more the point.
I think AV Aloe was the closest he came to beating it outside of which he didn't even run.
Hooper was fine, but I think Arctic's trap was fine outside of the fact that he didn't have anything to revenge kill the Hooper. He wasn't scarfed for Cephalon, I don't think.
Yeah, that's what the point I was trying to make. There was nothing to stop Hooper potentially. Yeah, it got a kill every time it came in, but after a certain point in the game, once Linoon was down, Scarf Shadow Ball also had the potential to clear the rest of the game as well. Especially with Steelix down, which is by far like the tankiest member of his team that he could have used, apart from the AV Alomomola, which was never utilized.
No, I would like instead of Linoon if he brought like an actual Scarfer, because Linoon was never going to do anything this game between the Hoopa and the Clef.
Yeah.
I think the Aloe set was nice. I know Arctic kind of complained about the matchup afterwards with the Hoopa mainly. So I would have liked to see something like Scarflinoon maybe to catch it. I don't know. I want to point out, one is that Arctic kind of threw away one differential point by going hard with Cephalon. Props to Abe for the Sucker Punch Mew attack. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was great to avoid as much damage as possible from the Miracle on Alomomola. Any closing statements from any of our other guests? I think we've covered every main point for this game. I mean, one thing to say as well is well done to Abe. You certainly made a very strong opening to your red career. So big congrats on such a strong opening win, and hopefully you'll keep up that prowess throughout the season for sure. But anyway, shall we move on, since very few people have mentioned anything.
Let's go to Lady Emma's game.
Next is it is our very own Emma Sky taking on King's Reign 87, the man that everybody needs to set out to beat.
This is the best match of the week. True story.
So, talk us through your starting prep. Like, talk us through what your thoughts were when you hit this team preview screen.
So, like, when I matched, I was surprised he didn't bring the Registeel, because I thought he was Birth Break Registeel to take care of Veil, because otherwise Alolan Ninetales kind of just like sets up Veil and everything. He didn't bring a lot of bulk to deal with the things like the Swallow or the stuff, if I was like a spec set, or he didn't bring necessarily beat my walls.
Yeah.
Like the KB can't necessarily break the Alolan Muck or whatever.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I mean, he did say publicly in the Discord chat that Swallow is not a bring for him, and then surprisingly he packs very little in terms of like stuff that can switch into Swallow.
I think I had a pretty decent matchup this week, and then bring the mons he needed to beat the stuff I brought.
Would like to see on King's part, looking at the matchup, bring something like a piece of Registeel, or you to kind of what's it called? Come in on Ninetales and potentially lure kill the Muck. See that as a game plan going, and then trying to clean up the Scarf Kyurem with Muck down. Something that I noticed.
Yeah, for sure. So let's
didn't bring Registeel.
Yeah. All right, so let's just jump into the opening turns. You see the Kyurem Black against your Alolan Muck. Here we go. Turn 1, Stone Edge crit. This was the start of something.
Damn.
He pays me back tenfold.
Something quite brutal. So the Stone Edge crit does matter. I believe there was a long discussion about this, one that I was heavily heated and involved in.
Oh yes.
And we will get to this discussion about what mattered and what didn't matter, and who should have won this, that, and whatever. But for now, the crit gets repaid in kind by a Scald Burn straight away on the Lopunny, which is a bit unfortunate given your set.
No, it's okay. He has healed on the 9th.
Yeah, he does, which is, recoverable.
The
but
only reason I switched a lot into Scald in the first place
was because of the specific set, which was, I believe it was sub Work Up Drain Punch, was it? Or was it sub Power Up Punch Drain
It's
Punch?
Power Punch, Drain Punch, yeah.
And it's
Which, if I could have subbed up on the Tox effects, I kind of just 6-0 from that point. 50s.
And this was a heavy point of discussion that we'll get into later. The burn does force you out into Alolan Ninetales to heal Bell up, but you do get the Aurora Veil up, which is certainly a huge benefit for you.
The Aurora Veil is a huge help this game.
Crit Scald onto the Swellow sucks, but luckily you do have you do pack the Roost, which is great.
Forces me to go for Roost that turn, but that's not as important.
Yeah, the Facade crit is a bit of repaying kind, and forces his Toxapex out on this turn, I believe. Yeah, it does. Facade does over 50% to the Bulu as well. And you're in a pretty solid position behind the Veil. Nothing can really touch the Swellow too badly apart from crits. And every time you're dealing nearly like
more than the Facade. His Toxapex is healing more than the Facade.
Yeah, it is under the grassy terrain there. I don't know if that was a roll. I don't think it was though.
Well, it was a crit the first one.
Yeah, the first one was a crit. But I'm not sure if any subsequent facades were rolls. Were they, Emma? I don't know.
I don't think so.
So everything was under 50%. Right. Turn 13, another Scald Burn. Another.
Keep Scald Burning.
Yeah, 30%
He does a
chance.
lot more than that, but.
He doesn't get another Scald Burn onto the Lando, luckily. And CM Lando, I think that's a pretty solid bit of tech on your end. He does get the burn with the second Scald, though.
It looked like the burn matters in a little bit.
What did you say there, Nathan? You cut out a little bit.
Yeah, because of the Bulu.
Did you see him because of the
All
Bulu?
mine. Were you special? Because of the Bulu, that's why he wasn't Quake. Cool.
That was Calm Mind, Sludge Wave, Earth Power Rock Polish.
Yeah, for Bulu.
Blue.
And then I think it was, I don't know what your EV spread was, but living on like 2% to fire off that move. Good work on that. I mean, that's a Ice Beam from a Kiram.
Oh, the Yachi. Well, I mean, he was Yachi and behind the Veil, so you know that's
One Spidef, but
like and +1 Spadef. So yeah, that's actually quite an impressive defensive showing. But still, for it to be doing like nearly 40%, that's some wild damage being shown off.
strong.
The Muck able to take out the Kyurem.
Right.
And I think this is where stuff gets wild. The Brick Break crit matters.
There's a lot. And then I Poison Jab here instead of knocking off, which is... Man.
Probably a misplay. And then crit freeze from Ice Beam matters. We'll go over we'll go over the reasons why this matters. And unfortunately, you do have to
Like a 20-minute discussion. Word.
Huh?
Why do all of King's games have a 20-minute discussion?
This one wouldn't have a 20-minute discussion afterwards if he'd have just accepted that Hax was in his favour. But spoiler alert, King decided to argue with me that Hax was against him this game. And I was just having none of it.
On his side for a lot of this game.
So one thing I like about King is he brought such a passive team with Bulu. Like he's leeching a Swellow that's doing like 50% with Protect, and Emma's already shown Roost off. So I mean, I just don't get why he brought team like Toxapex, Bulu. I mean, I agree with Emma that if they had gotten a sub up and power up punch, basically they do work.
Yeah,
But
it was problems from the start without that original burn. So the freeze mattered on first of all the brick break crit mattered on Muck because it popped the I think it was an Iapapa berry. It was the gluttony heal berry that heals a lot. So popping that originally sucked because that gave you several more hits that you could tank from stuff like Greninja and potentially Bulu. Second to that, the freeze on Gren definitely mattered because I think from the discussions we were having, Muck pretty much clinched the game into a 5-0 or a 4-0 for you.
It was a 4-0 because Muck couldn't like 1v3 the last of his mons, but it could 1v2 any combination of two he wants.
No, I know. But it definitely put you in a situation where you had the game clinched. So it put you in a 4-0 position, and the hacks definitely favoured King, and this was the subject of a long discussion. Not going to go like too heavy into the sort of nitty gritty details, but King, my man, you hacked your way to a lower score, and you have no defense for that. That's the bottom line of this. You were doomed to a 4-0 before the hacks.
Yeah.
And potentially worse if that original Scold hadn't burned the lot.
Lopunny.
Lopunny didn't get burned on the Switch, and I might have just won 6-0 at that point, depending on how we play.
Yeah, but I think it's probably too hard to speculate what could and couldn't have happened from that early, because then you are talking like an entirely different game. Right. Any closing thoughts from you, Nathan, or you, Zappy, about any of the stuff seen?
I just want to applaud for the prep. I think the CM Lando was great. Very nicely for that.
Yeah, agree. CM Lando, great bring.
I think you've been doing really well with my stuff, even though you have no hazard removal, practically. I don't know, I'm just impressed that nobody's like attempted to hazard stack you yet, or kind of,
brought Rocks versus me a ton. David brought Webs week 1, which did a lot, but since then nobody's really tried to abuse the hazard removal.
Which is a fault on their part, I think.
As long as
you've been
popping W's.
You kind of punish hazards or tries to hazard stack you too much, so I mean, good team building on your part as well.
For sure. Right.
Okay, best player in blue.
Right, yes.
True.
So
only
here we...
player as of week 3.
Huh?
Who left as of week 3?
Who left as of week 3? What?
The hazard stack comment.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, so Relly...
Which
may
is...
not be the best player in blue.
Yeah.
Some of the most entertaining games to watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
And this week he plays Johnson.
Where there's like a 33% chance of success and like a 66% chance of something just going totally wrong. But they benefit him sometimes, and sometimes they... I don't know what he's doing. So, I don't know, he's really difficult to watch at times, and other times, the funnest to watch.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I have to say that John's team looks
I love playing against Relly.
Oh, 3 people talking over each other. Okay, one at a time. Zappy, go on.
Johnson's team looks very weak to a Swagger Confuse Ray Sableye. The special, so sad that didn't came.
Yeah, potentially. So go on, Emma, what was your plan? The Specs Excadrill. So to quickly highlight this game, this is the UNC Wingulls coached by the Johnson 03 versus the Edmonton Coilers coached by Austin, aka Rally.
So, team preview, I really like the Whimsicott, Moonblast, Giga Drain, and U-Turn, basically entire team. Oh, I guess not the Excadrill super effectively, but I don't know. I think he's got the Necrozma to kind of switch in on that, or the Licking on the Excadrill.
Yep.
But that's just looking at team preview.
I mean, there's not much, like, there's very little point, in my opinion, talking about team preview from Austin's side, because you're just not going to be able to tell what the sets are. You could make all the predictions under the sun, and it's unlikely that you'll ever reach a solid conclusion. Right, shall we jump right into the game? Nathan, you're taking the lead on this one, right?
So turn 1, the Necrozma talks the Rotom. I don't know. This play just confuses me. So the trick to the Iron Ball, which I don't know why Rally has, and the Lagging Tail, I assume that they brought for the Trick Room Takataka.
Yeah.
But it kind of goes in Rally's favor. Basically get the Toxic, and then Rally has to Trick again.
Yeah.
And so basically, in one turn, the Rally's been Toxic, you're taking half damage on Rotom. And
possibly the coolest intro turns to any game.
Understand. So another Photon Geyser, basically the Rotom, and then tricked again, and then die.
Yep.
You get Helder coming in, which at first glance I thought, oh, it's Zoroark.
Nope.
Because
it's
that would make sense. Got the Psychic.
No, it's legitimately sub-Conkelder.
But
my favorite is the Nasty Plot Hippowdon.
Hang on, we're not that
Then
far
he
in.
brings in the
No
Hippo.
spoilers.
So he brings in the Hippo, which is disguised as, you guess it, the Zoroark.
Pause turn 8, by the way.
6. And
But-
takes the Photon Geyser.
You want to pause at turn 8,
Basically,
Zoppy?
Pause turn 8 when you get there.
Okay, we'll stop at turn 8 if you have a comment.
So, obviously the Zoroark is in, and he switches out. The Nasty Plot comes out. Zygarde switches in on the other end. And he goes for Protect, then there's Dark Pulse, and it is turn 8.
Okay.
Go ahead, Happy.
Turn 8, the Zoroark flinches Zygarde with Dark Pulse. Huge.
Yeah, it is rather big because it does
It's a
for.
Zoroark?
No, it's just a dark type nasty plot Hippowdon, as we'd all expect. But yeah, I completely agree, Zappy. This is actually quite a large turn in the game because now Zygarde's forced out, he's forced to pick a sack essentially to Dark Pulse.
Well, I think the Whimsicott pull, and then threaten it out with attack.
Could it have taken? I mean, it's a hefty amount of chip onto it at least, if not a 2-hit KO.
Yeah, but do you sack the whole Necrozma that?
Yeah, no, I can see the point. Yeah, for sure.
That would be my thing. So then the
Austin.
Oh, hang on. Zappy, you cut out a bit. What was your point?
HPIs this turn, so if you went Whimsicott, it would have basically just dropped or gotten heavily weakened. Why he stayed in with Zygarde
Yeah, that's a fair point.
on the Whimsicott, and it's like a Sash variant. He basically gets 2 kills instead of just 1.
Yeah, fair point, I guess. Alright, we're ready to move on from turn 9. Whenever you're ready, Nathan.
Okay. So turn 10, the Aerodactyl comes in, and finally it's threatened out. And then the actual real Hippo comes in. Aerodactyl sneezes at the Hippo. The Hippo
Ice Fang. This was a cool tech.
He did a lot this game.
Dactyl. The Tentacruel probably doesn't want to come in on the Hippo
No.
because of Earthquake. So I mean, it's a good play by Relic. and that's probably the, like I said, the 33% chance of the rally play working out. The other two, not so much, but this one did so.
I'm not.
Huh?
Sorry, I'm just at 10-12 now. Are you at 10-12?
So turn 12, the Whimsicott goes for the Giga Drain, and basically it's kind of winning this, but if he goes for another Ice Fang, basically the Whimsicott's gonna die.
Yeah.
To Sandstorm, and it's just not recovering enough. So it makes a good switch in my opinion to the Licklicky.
I mean, in my opinion, this should have been his switch in the first place. I'm not a huge fan of him letting Whimsicott take so much damage from the Hippowdon. Granted, I don't think I would have stayed in with the Hippo, but given that my switches would be limited, because he doesn't really have much that sort of takes on the Whimsicott, staying in an Ice Fanging is an understandable play, but I don't know why Johnson would risk so much damage on the Whimsicott. But yeah,
I think the Tentacruel or Lickitung would have been, Licklicky would have been perfect play.
Yeah, I think the Licklicky was the best play he could have made.
So he gets it in on turn 14.
Yep.
Does what you do best to the walls, you toxic them. The Hippo, Earthquakes, the Licklicky, and I think it's like a seismic scale of like 1.
Yeah.
The Conk comes in, Mr. Sub Conk, and I think it's a really good play by Relly that he has leftovers and toxic, and he's guts. I'm assuming he's guts because this Ice Punch does still quite a lot to Tentacruel. The Tentacruel now is just going to proceed to surf like 5 times and weaken half the team. Relly switches out his Conkeldurr because he doesn't want to take a hit.
Switches it back in to take a hit.
And turn 18, switching it back in just to Ice Punch.
I guess he was scouting for Psychic and maybe made that aggressive, but that's the only thing I can think of. But proceeds to like let this Tentacruel serve half the team. And then he goes for Ice Punch. So, I mean, I don't know if he just didn't pack Zen Headbutt or Knockoff or anything like that. If Ice Punch was the best thing to hit the Tentacruel with, he should pack Stab at least. Stab should do more than Ice Punch.
Yeah.
Well, if he'd like Drain Punched, it could be Liquid Ooze, kind of cruel.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Okay, it could be Liquid Ooze.
Back to the next curve anyways, so.
Now
Conk go down.
Brings in the Hippo. After I think Omega's already seen that the Hippo basically carries Earthquake. It's not going to do anything to the Licklicky, Crunch, and Ice Fang. And the Licklicky basically is going to wish up and let this Hippo die. Goes for the extra drill, and then he reveals a nice tech in Dragon Tail just to make sure. I think it's the no sword stance for the extra drill. Which I think is a nice play on their part.
The play
comes in.
The play on this turn, I don't necessarily agree with. I agree with the nasty plot. I think that's an okay play. I don't agree with. I don't agree with the choice that Johnson made to toxic this when he already knew that this Zoroark was a setup variant of Zoroark, and he let it get a free +2, which means that again something is going to take heavy damage from a Dark Pulse, regardless of what happens, which is what happens in the upcoming turns, I think.
Well, he goes to protect. I'm assuming that he thinks he can like stall it out, but he goes with the Fire Blast.
Doing a little bit of chip. I mean.
And now this Licklicky that walled the entire team is now dead because flinched. Yeah.
Whereas if he Dragon Tailed on that first turn, you avoid this problem completely. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think Austin spammed enough Dark Pulses for sort of law of average to take effect. For sure.
Yeah.
And now it's not able to recover anything at all, really.
No, it didn't get the wish up. It couldn't protect. basically Gonzo.
Yeah, and
Or Mr.
it's reduced to trying to turn the timer up on Hippo.
Yeah. So it protects stall, goes for these ice things. I mean, he could have gone for Tentacle, but he went for the double protect. And I don't think that crit necessarily mattered.
No, it
But
didn't.
Whimsicott now can finally revenge this pretty easily, get some HP back. Next play is Excadrill, and this thing could have basically cleaned late game if got a Swords Dance up in sand. Or at least done some work. At least lower the
Yeah.
stop the Swords Dance. After that, basically the Zygarde tanks that Iron Head, kills it.
So, fun fact, I think if this if this Excadrill was properly spec'd, he doesn't live Earthquake, but Austin, being the absolute genius that he is, decided to put Earth Power on it instead of Earthquake. So
33%. 30% worse.
So, yeah.
Power ground steel type that we've seen this week.
Yeah. The one absolutely unexpected. It's a theme.
Earth Power.
So yeah, if he
That
was
a way better move.
if he was Earthquake, then maybe things differ a little bit. I think maybe Aerodactyl probably still is able to do something.
Does the same thing it just did, but
And then classic Austin with the scarfed Primarina locked into Shadow Ball and results in a 2-0 loss for him.
Look how the Scarf Prim still didn't outspeed the Aerodactyl.
Yeah, because it was modest. And also it has
Base
really
65.
base 65 speed as well, doesn't help that. Yeah, for sure. So, any comments on the outcome of that?
Basically, Austin was fighting 5 versus 6 the whole match
Yeah.
after the quick shenanigans. I really liked the lagging tail on the Necross or the stab attack on that one. Crap, I would have liked to see it work, but kind of neat.
Cool.
Also played a really good end game, especially preserving the Zygarde.
Yeah, he did. Probably wouldn't have lived if Austin had Earthquake, but you know. People struggling with connection at the minute.
Still, he played very well.
Yeah, for sure. Right, shall we get on to the next game, or?
Yeah, TV and Fitz.
Yep. Putting that on.
FB and TV.
Putting that on
Will
screen.
TV play his Mimikyu well this week?
Find out.
The REDCast.
So yeah, two players that have had kind of like mixed starts so far. I think at this point.
1-1 at this point.
Are they both 1-1? I didn't.
No, TB is. I'm not
T-
sure.
TB is 1-1 and Fitz is 0-2. I think he lost both his opening weeks.
I don't know who he played week 1, but I know week 2 I think he played Fitz and lost.
Yeah.
Played Johnson.
I think he played Johnson and Johnson won, so yeah, 0-2. I haven't got a lot to say on team preview. Both teams, you know, look fairly balanced.
It does stuff.
Both teams have the potential to take the win, and both have checks that they need removed. Fitz needs Pylogon and potentially Slowbro in order for Salamence to start doing work. Potentially Thunderwave variants of Thundurus Therian as well. TB needs Fortress gone really, before being able to really do anything with his main sweepers. And he needs to be
I
wary.
like that,
Yeah, go ahead.
I like that Fitz Blitz brought his two kind of main offensive weapons, and they both use Pillow Swine, being the Lando and the Salamander.
Yep, completely agree.
A lot of work this game.
Right.
From team.
So I think Pillow Swine was a good thing. I don't really like the double 4 times a week ice types against that Fitz brought when TB had a Pillow Swine, but that's one thing I didn't like.
Yeah, fair points. Certainly would be problematic and needs Piloswine removing as soon as possible. But anyway, jumping straight in. The leads are the Salazzle versus the... Oh, what's this thing called? It's Volcanion, isn't it?
Volcarona.
Volcarona. Volcarona is the other one. Volcanion. Straight away, Fitz reveals its Scarf variant. And allows a free switch into Thundurus, which is already a pretty bad position. I mean, TB pulls a nice double here at turn 4 as well. Oh, sorry, turn 3. He doubles back into the Salazzle after forcing the Volcanion out. Doesn't seem to get any huge amount of damage. He just Sludge Waves. Whereas
Fire Blast, though, Venusaur.
if he Fire Blasts or Flamethrowers, he does a huge chunk, which was weird.
And I understand that the Volcanion could have been on that Fire Blast and get, but then it has to lock itself into a move that Thundurus can basically come in on whatever
Well,
said lock.
I don't think it technically does after the sash is broke. It can lock itself into Steam Eruption, but then again that does allow Slowbro in for free as well.
Yeah. I mean, it allows Thundurus to basically fire off a bolt as well.
Not without the Thundurus taking a lot of damage from Steam Eruption, because this is a Scarf Volcanion. And
I guess, yeah.
as you see on turn 5, the Thundurus is Nasty Plot variant.
Well, Nasty Plot, Psychic, HP Ice, and T-Bolt beats everything besides the Forage.
Doesn't even need Psychic, he could just be HP Fire.
Yeah. Or HP Ice, for that matter. Fitz has a weird habit of just never ever switching out. I mean, here I don't necessarily agree with... I suppose if you're picking a sack, you know, staying in front of the +2 Thundurus, and allowing it to set up another Nasty Plot while all you do in return is Giga Drain is not exactly the way to go with that.
Yeah, he should have roared first turn.
Yeah, the first turn should have been the roar. He is able to Synthesis up versus the Slowbro, but gets caught back down with a Psyshock. But just doesn't switch out. Like turn 9, he recovers all of his HP because TB switches out expecting him to switch, but he just sits in. Like, the man's strategy this season has been to just sit in versus everything, never switch. He's done it in both games. Just a huge...
you to switch, you don't switch, that means you win.
Yeah, but just having a huge aversion to switches. I mean, it does eventually get taken down by the Piloswine here on turn 10. And he makes 2 consecutive switches right here on turn 11. So I just think he likes to stack up all his switches into one go. Because he pulls a nice double there from the Volcanion to bait in something else, I guess.
So whenever that
14 is...
Wow, what a loud outburst that lagged.
14.
Say that again from the beginning, Zappy.
In with his Salamander to break a disguise.
Right.
He decides to stay on the Mimikyu to break its disguise, whereas if the Mimikyu SD'd there, he would have had to sack basically 2 mons.
Yeah.
I think he should have definitely kept Mans in the back.
Oh yeah, he just completely sacks it off to the
don't understand TB letting his disguise get broken again.
He does
Well, I don't know
have
why he
a...
goes for,
Yeah, go ahead, Nathan.
I don't know why Fitz goes for Sludge Mimic.
I don't know why he's packing Sludge Wave exactly, either. I guess maybe he
I
thought
hope
it'd be
he-
super
It's
effective.
probably it's for this.
That's for what?
No clue. I was gonna say it's for this arena, but Volcanion's a fire type.
Yeah. I think maybe misunderstood the weaknesses that Mimikyu has.
Wave hits the Mimikyu super effectively and
They just
forgot
filler. His stop kind of hits most everything.
that, doesn't get the poison, doesn't get anything. I guess maybe he didn't want to miss Steam Eruption.
Yeah. I mean, he ends up having to sack it to sack the Mimikyu to the fortress in a couple of turns' time anyway. He does get a Will-O-Wisp off on it though.
But it's
Thunder-
special, I think, is what it's still.
Right. The Thundurus is able to come in almost immediately and revenge that. He does get a crit with a fake out, but I don't think it would have mattered.
At this point, it looks kind of like just Piloswine wins.
Yeah, unfortunately,
Even.
it's a big problem.
But he's got that King,
Cool.
and I think TV does an awesome job at making his Intimidate and getting enough chip on that Kangaskhan.
Yeah.
Eventually, that Piloswine crit.
The playing around Toxic as well, once he gets Landorus Toxic, is really good as well. He really optimizes the damage output from the Toxic by switching Hitmontop out instead of sacking it, getting in the Slowbro on the Psychic to tank a hit, and then just, like you say, then managing the Intimidates from there to maximize just sort of the passive damage from Rocky Helmet as well onto Kang. So I think he plays the end game very well for what he needs to do. He does get a bit unfortunate with at turn 27 with the crunch, especially because it crits.
It's just
And
getting
then it-
everything in range of Piloswine. and
Yeah, it crits and then gives the defense drop.
I
But-
think he should have gone for return or something, not crunch that logo since 2% health.
Yeah,
then Fitz just needs to make a play to kind of stay in the game.
Well, at this point, the
But
King's
it-
weak
it-
enough where Piloswine picks it off. And
yeah,
I think he has it like full HP practice. Yeah.
I think outside of TB choking around the, I think TB just won
yeah.
no matter what during that endgame.
Once that second round of Rocky Helmet damage had come off, it was easy enough for Piloswine to just click Ice Shard twice, and pick it off, and he picks up a decent win off the back of that.
Make any crazy plays to win this. He just kind of had to play well.
I mean, he just had to play around the fact that Fist Blitz was just never switching that Venusaur around. I think that's sort of Fitz's struggle this season, that he just has a playstyle where he just will never just switches as few times in a game as possible. Like, he lets everything take a lot of unnecessary damage instead of sort of mediating that damage out and making sure that he doesn't get too pressured. Especially with a mon like Kangaskhan, where bringing Rocky Helmet is such a big factor for it. It just seems it's suboptimal, I think.
I'd like to mention the existence of Flash Cannon Fortress. I don't know why it existed, but it existed. So yeah, that's the thing.
It seems suboptimal, but at least it, killed that 3% HP Mimikyu.
At that point in the game, it didn't matter.
No, you could probably tell pretty clearly that the game's over by this point. It's
He
not.
played a very endgame game preserving Piloswine for the Lando.
Yeah, he absolutely
like
did,
that.
and like I said, I think that was the strongest point that he did over the game. Not just like preserving for Piloswine though, like everything, like being able to get the passive damage between Toxic and Rocky Helmet maximized onto both Landorus and Kangaskhan, as well as getting the Intimidates up onto Kang. He just did everything correct at the end game.
That was the best end game I've ever seen play.
Yeah, TB just played a super great end game.
There you go.
Very well played by TB.
That's all there is to it. I think that's my closing comments for that game.
Last week.
David versus Beery?
David versus Biddy Bond, which they're both doing really well. Team matchup, David brings the Mammoth.
Let me just get it up on screen for the viewers. There we go.
So Bond brings Audino, Mega Audino, Trick, Jirachi, Kartana, and Suicune, and David brings the Skunk. I don't know. David brings like a UU team, basically. Raichu, Skuntank, Manaphy, Mamo, Infernape, and Rabombe.
UU plus Manaphy.
I thought Manaphy was like BL, I guess. I don't know. Not like, so Recon just plays this game very aggressive. Like, turn 1, the Jirachi versus Skuntank, and goes for the pursuit. I think basically he wants to get rid of this Jirachi from the get-go. Biddyborn does some very, 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 very shady shenanigans with a T-Wave, Iron Head Jirachi.
I mean, I don't understand the play at turn 2. Sorry, turn 3. Now, it's questionable to me that when you've got the opportunity to paraflinch something to death, you don't waste that opportunity with the Jirachi. I don't know if he was predicting a switch, but just.
I think he was predicting.
Skuntank's kind of important for.
But to me, just continually iron heading away at that would have been the
optimal play.
Would have been the optimal way to go, I think.
And I think David's okay just sacking Skuntank 1-for-1 basically for his tier 3 or 4 against this tier 1 Jirachi. I think David does that trade every day of the week.
Yeah.
And eventually he goes for the Iron Head. Finally get breakthrough.
Oh, bit of lag there on Zappy's end. Try and come back a little bit clearer.
What's it called? I don't. Beery really misplayed there because if he switches out, what's it called? He takes up the Jirachi would basically be dead. Have to switch into something that would +2 like a max HP Skuntank. So I think I agree with weakening the Skuntank. Helps with Kartana and stuff.
As opposed to
Yeah. No, I think he's agreeing with the point that we've all made that you should. He should have aimed to take out the Skuntank with Iron Heads instead of setting up the rocks that early.
Yeah.
I think that's the agreement of everybody. He does break through anyway and picks it off at turn 6, so it's not really a huge deal.
So the trade that we talked about, the Breloom to Kartana, comes in play here, and even with a Leaf Blade, picks up the hit. David brings in the Infernape, scares it off with either a Fire Move or Vacuum Wave. David makes the aggressive play of Thunder Punching a Kartana at +1.
What can you say? The man knows how to make a hard read.
David's just the GOAT, guys. He
does make an incredibly solid play.
Thunder Punch doesn't do anything. Basically bounces off. 36%. Gall's gonna eventually kill it. But David brings in the Rebombi, gets up the webs. BD1 goes for Calm Mind, and I think he should have gone for one more Calm Mind. He's got leftovers. The Rebombi is doing 19% to a +1. So I think if he would have gotten to one more +1 this next play, Skulls and gets rid of the Rabombi. But if he would have gotten to +2, I think he can potentially weaken the Manaphy a little bit.
I mean, he makes
roar it out.
Yeah, he makes the great play anyway to roar out the Manaphy. And this is where I agree that the +2 Spidef would have come in handy for sure with you.
Yeah, and he could have at least gotten the +2, and probably gotten to maybe 3 or 4 if David would have Bobby. I don't think he would have, but potentially that was the optimal play.
I think going higher would have been a bit risky for him.
I think 2 or 3 is kind of the max where you stop and just kill off the Rabombi.
But I for sure would have gone to +2, for the sole reason that here on turn 12, after he roars out the Manaphy and gets rid of its speed boost, which is a great play, great way to read the Z move. He does roar in the Raichu, which is probably the most unfortunate roar roll he could have got. However, at +2 Spidef, you can eat this. He eats, yeah, he absolutely eats the T-Bolt. It's no threat to him unless, you know, like maybe he's Thunder. But I don't think he was. I think he was just standard T-Bolt. But right here, if he does Scald, it's a rain boosted Scald that's at +2 Spidef. There's no way that this Raichu lives. And it maybe forces David to play a little different as well, so he doesn't end up nasty plotting on this turn.
Yeah, well, David makes a hard read again. Nasty plots. Yeah.
In front of the, he nasty plots in front of the Suicune, yeah.
I mean,
David might have been a little bit.
Go on, Emma.
A little bit tunnel visioned on Scarf Raichu, as he sort of talked about after the game, because we did a mock and I Raichu.
Yeah, the tunnel vision is the worst thing you can get.
I think he might have tunnel visioned a little bit on that, and then just sort of nasty plot Raichu came in and won.
Yeah, that's the part of like mocks helping you, and they can also hurt. I mean, I think Regenix made the comment that he played David, and David brought a Facade Kangaskhan deck.
Yeah, the week 1 game. This was covered in the first REDCast, but it is the case that you can end up being pressured and forced out by one extreme variant of a Pokemon, and then like just get your head beaten in by the other extreme of it after you make the adjustments to deal with one. But anyway, back to the game. We're at turn 13 by my book.
Aggressive play and he nasty plot. And at this point, I don't know if David planned to be in the rain or if he did a calc with like Surf in the rain, but Surf outgoes a Manectric.
I mean, Manectric's hardly the bulkiest of mons.
Well,
So
I did take a crit too, but I don't know if that matters.
the crit, I don't think the crit mattered.
But I don't think Manectric is going to do anything. Probably have fire coverage, electric, and it revealed quick attack. So I mean, I don't know what it would have. It would have gotten another 14% chip.
But I don't think it lived.
The Tornadus does a 14%, so just barely misses out. And I think I talked to BD1, or he mentioned in general that he didn't even calc this. If he would have calced it, he would have done something totally different. But it ended up costing him his Tornadus T, which is the only one that outspeeds currently this Raichu at +2.
Yep.
And now if you look at BD1's team, there's an Aldino, which I think doesn't even have an attacking move, Kartana, and a Suicune. So David reveals one more, and he's got webs up. David's got one more trick. He's got the HP Fire, and Kartana basically doesn't take that even in the rain.
I mean, Kartana wasn't taking any special hit in the rain.
It wasn't going to take the +2 Thunderbolt any day.
Yeah, but basically David's made this game plan of putting webs up, having the rain up, hitting a +2 Jirachi. I think all of it's just hitting Bidybone at 1.
It's the perfect sort of like plan coming together, really.
Yeah. So now the guy Bolt, and basically this Aldino is gonna wish. I don't know if he's just attempting to PP stall him, or
I think he's just given up.
But basically it's GG and Raichu just demolished him. I think the Raichu has it out. Bidybone didn't pick it a round up sooner. So for those of you that don't know, Recon Jack knifed Bidybone, I think like 6 for him for the Raichu.
Yeah. To see David coming back after yellow.
Yeah.
Just getting relegated. He didn't like get completely trashed in yellow.
But yeah, like I say, he's gone back to his strengths, and now he's hitting his stride. Absolutely. Or has been so far.
Tough loss for such a great win last week.
Yeah.
He's just a very aggressive player. I think people don't think it. He just gun-ho, gun-metal, gas, pedal to the gas. He gets you on the back foot, he just kind of dominates.
And then he picks those mons that punish it. Yeah, go ahead, Zappy.
As the more so.
I think you're going to have to start again there, but you had a bit of a technical difficulty. Yeah, is Zappy having massive technical difficulties for anyone else?
Can you hear
now? We can hear you, yeah, try again.
I think Beerus should more so consider the end game in making his turns, because I think it was clicking with those base choke, or at least differential choke, but I would like to...
Wow, Robot Zappy. I think I got. Well, you keep drifting in and out. I think I got the gist of what you were trying to say, though, in that he needs to consider the end game a lot more, and he needs to take more of a focus on sort of the differential preservation when he's on the back foot, and how to best maneuver himself.
Is very, in my opinion. David.
Yeah, I think you might have to leave and rejoin the chat to see if you can reset your connection a bit.
Inclusion, that's all of blue, the best division.
Is that all of blue?
I think the game was the Recon Jacket one, though. That was probably favorite.
No?
Hold on.
Your internet connection must be like struggling hardcore.
Yeah, it's been bad.
Yeah, we can hear it's pretty bad. Technical difficulties on REDCast.
Yeah.
I think we might have to skip over your point while you...
Let's go to yellow, you and Cal.
Yeah, okay. Let me just put that game on screen, 1 second.
Oh, if you're viewing this on YouTube, suggest something on the comment section below for Cal. Some sort of punishment for Cal.
Oh yeah, for losing to Jaime. We still haven't determined this. Please feel free. But yeah, great. Here we have my team, the Detroit Enteis, taking on the Lowell Spinda, coached by the one lonely cow. I think Zappy is trying to speak up. He's not working though. Now he's completely muted. Right. Yeah, it's looking like a struggle for you, Zaps. Right.
So, those who thought that there was a lot of hacks in the Lady Emma or Emma Sky King spec King.
This was
just a hack.
yeah, this was terrible. Right. I think team matchup, mine's pretty standard across the board. My most notable sets was like AV Jirachi and then Wishclef. And the Gravity Defog Lando as my Klefki check, because I didn't want it spiking and magnet rising and HP icing all over the place. It was a bit annoying. Apart from that, I think Suicune was fairly standard. Gren was again fairly standard, and Tyrantrum was Scarf. So yeah, I was kind of Lonely. Kind of brought the team that I'd anticipated. I was more conscious of his Infernape coming, but he never chose to bring it, which I found quite surprising. But other than that, apart from like the Infernape making a no-show in the stead of Frostlass, I think I anticipated this was the 6 he was going to bring pretty well.
You thought REDCast would come?
Huh? I'd figured, yeah, because it's a slow, bulky pivot that I don't really have a great deal of checks to. I figured if he was going to bring sort of that sort of pivot, it would be the eel. Yeah. Yeah, jumping in then. Let's get on with it. Don't really have too much to say about the opening turns, personally. It's just...
Well, I think Black lined up almost practically good with every side Suicune. He knows that Suicune's kind of usually win con, so
yeah.
I think it was a good matchup how to kind of Blast really matches up with everything.
I mean, he didn't have anything for the Clef bar like turn 5 where he gets Multiples Confusions. So that was a bit annoying.
Yeah, luckily you got the Clef out in time. I think you eventually get it to where you can get in Wish HP back, but it really hurt because you kind of forced you to switch out.
Yeah, and like Clef is important for keeping my team healthy, so it was really frustrating at the time. Again,
it's a hard read.
What turn is this?
Go to that. Oh, what turn are you on?
I was a little bit ahead because I was just scrolling through. I was at turn 9.
So, I think he knows that your Suicune is a big threat. So I think he ends up revealing later on in Roar, Toxic, and Water Pulse.
Yeah.
But he goes Toxic on the Suicune just because I think he's seen Calm Mind Suicune in too many games on your end. So I think it's good on his end to bring the Toxic. You kind of read that and watched.
Yeah, I figured that he'd try and Toxic the Suicune. I do try and catch it with a Grass Knot, but
yeah,
he makes a decent read himself and goes into the Eel.
And then Volt Switch is kind of like what you're saying, the bulky pivot. And basically this Tyrantrum is now in.
And then gets crit.
Something looks like it could die.
Well, I'm forced out. It was fine. It was fine until Frostlass came in because I was very conscious of Scarfed Ice Beam. I didn't want to risk messing about with that too much.
The whole time. Ice or Shadow, both stabs are by the Gran.
Yeah, which was why Gren ended up being my play. I didn't expect him to stay in on the turn that I surfed, because Dark Pulse would have KO'd this Frostlass, unless he was Colbur. but he goes from a crit Volt Switch to do nearly like 50% to my Tyrantrum into Curse Bodying my Surf.
Well, you can still get the Dark Pulse, but then
he brings in a Moongus, which luckily does like 10 to Jirachi.
And basically it's just repivoting into your Jirachi, and I think you try and get the momentum again back with U-turn. And then the land goes in on a Cleft, and the Cleft key reveals its leftovers as opposed to Shuka. And I think he assumes that you're just gonna like Earthquake it, tries to get up Suicide Spike.
Yeah. Like I say, I was very conscious of Magnet Rise because that would have been that was a big problem for my team. So yeah, making sure that I had Gravity was a good play.
Well.
And it forces it.
And then Jock in the comment section says, "Pick a sack."
After the Amoongus takes 50%, yeah. Unfortunately, the sack he picks is Frostlass, and that gets another Curse Body proc, which is great. Love that.
Al is an admin on Showdown or Battle Arena, and he just like
changes the effect chances. Just yeah.
He's like, oh, you know what? We're gonna Curse Body to 50%, activate. Let's go ahead and make Magog, like a 20% crit rate.
Yeah.
Anyways, since he knows that you can't Earthquake because the Curse Body goes into Electros, you could have gone into Lottie as well.
Yeah.
Use U-turn safely and try and get your health back with Clefable.
Originally, this was just like my sack because Electros basically, if it stayed in and just Thunderbolted, then I was in a pretty bad spot for bringing Tyrantrum in. And if it Volt Switched and got momentum for something else, I was also in a bad spot. So I just needed to pick. The intention was that I was going to have to sack off Clefable, but then he clicked Dragon Tail and just let me heal up, which was really great because that gave Clef a second chance at life.
Yep.
So,
and then Clef gonna see if we're gonna like survive everything now again, or they die facing the Blastoise.
Yeah, it's against this Blastoise again. Luckily, I'm able to get my rocks up.
Well, Clef is broken.
Clef
is just so good. Always.
Stealth Rock's Clefable is busted and will always get them up.
And then this Blastoise the heck out of it again.
Yeah, and he procs another Confusion, and by this point, I'm just like, I hate you. I hate you, Lonely. Why does this have to happen to me? I make a misplay with the Clefable anyway. I should have.
I think you should have whipped up to get some more before you rock.
I should have made the Protect play to see if I could get out of range of.
Get out of Water Pulse range.
Yeah, and get another shot at a Wish. But
Yeah.
it's a minor inconvenience.
So you went into Suicune to beat the Blastoise, but I don't get why you did because he had already revealed.
No, he hadn't. He hadn't revealed Raw. He hadn't revealed Raw yet.
No, he had revealed Toxic, and then I think you were Resto Chesto.
Yeah, I was Resto Chesto, so I was pretty confident that I could just set up versus him, and then he revealed Raw anyway. So
yeah, and then he whips out the Roar. I mean, props to him.
Yeah, it's a good bring. I was like, wow. Well, that's a bit frustrating because Carmine Coon at that point, if I got up to +2, pretty much won because Electros was fairly low health. Mind you, then again, I think he did have Clear Smog on his Amoongus, so it didn't particularly matter a huge amount. But I am able to get the burn.
Blastoise?
Yeah, I'm able to get the burn on Blastoise at about turn 28.
Toxic to you, and I think at this point you reveal Rest. Chesto.
I press rest because I figure he's gonna roar regardless. So I want Suicune at full HP. At that point, that way it's got 0 chance of being taken out by the Latios
Yeah, and you got
or the Electros.
full HP, which I think was probably the best play. You barely missed out on the KO.
With the Greninja, yeah, that's unfortunate. If he'd have confused me here, I would have really lost my shit. Like, that would have been like mortifying. Turn 30 though, I get my justice.
You freeze them.
And yep, this is
a little back.
absolute justice, and I am not sorry that this happened. I was due this revenge. And then for good measure, I crit his Klefki. And I'm not sorry about it.
Back-to-back hat really hurt.
Yeah. It was pretty brutal on his end.
Things got Dunzo.
Yep. And Gren's just able to sweep up the game. So yeah, that's
Yo,
it.
can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome back. You're much clearer now on mobile.
Yo, great. So I believe you two just finished you versus Lonely, right?
Correct.
All right, I'll get up the next game.
I mean, there's not much to comment on. It's a 5 OG to Axe, but regardless.
Oh no, he said next game. He means that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Just saying, there was no massive closing comments other than fuck you, Lonely, fuck your hacks, and I'm not sorry. Moving on. Right, here we have JH Tech's second game of the evening. Putting it on screen. This is his actual Week 3 match against Zaffa. So this is the LA Lopunnies now taking on the Royal Thai Greninja. Any comments from matchup?
Nothing really. Looks like.
Here's that. How many times do you think this Escavalier goes for?
Huh? Escavalier hits what? Sorry, you cut out a little bit.
How many times do you think Escavalier is going to go for a U-turn?
About 0.
Okay. I think I counted 5, but that was the first thing that...
I don't know. This is probably. I think this is the one game that I actually missed. Should we jump right in?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay, so it's the Escavalier lead versus the Heatran, and there's one U-turn. Okay. Magma Storm Tran. It's been a while since I've seen this game. Don't particularly remember it. He sets up the Manaphy and then immediately switches out. I don't quite get that rationale of setting up and then revealing that you have the setup and then bouncing back out.
I would have liked to see a Signal Beam Manaphy to kind of deal with the Regenerator Core, make sure they can't pivot between you.
That could have been cool.
Signal Beam.
But
I was gonna Pursuit Trap Sneasel because I think he had Blizzard, for Scald. If he could have just weakened that Slowking, I think that Manaphy goes on a tear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even Slowking isn't taking +3 Energy Ball that well, but it needs a fair amount of chip onto it, I think.
Yeah, and another thing, a thing that I noticed in my game versus Zaffer is that Toxic Spikes are amazing versus his team. So I would have liked to see those on the Escavalier. Because
he has I agree with Zappy, because I think he has horrible hazard rules in Togekiss and Hitmontop.
Yeah.
It's subpar for sure.
That's the only thing I don't like about his draft. I mean, I love the Doublade, the Tyranitar, the Garchomp, every other Mon package. I just wish he would have gotten something a little bit more relaxed. Maybe a Rotom. If you can hear this, pick up a Rotom.
Yo, big turn 15.
Hang on, getting there now. Turn 15. Blacephalon getting
Oh, the
in.
knock.
Oh, the knockoff, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so a few things. I think with T-Tar in the back, this Blacephalon should always either double out or just not be sent in at all till the T-Tar is weakened, which is where T-Spikes would come in pretty big. And also, I just don't agree with going this thing on a Terrakion when a knockoff was a pretty safe play there, seeing as he had Slowking in the back to potentially check the Terrak.
Yeah.
So, nice play in Zephyr Spark for sure. Really, really
Yeah.
well played.
Well, that's really ballsy of him too, knocking off Karaki.
Yeah, he does have the assurance though in the back, like Zappy said, of the Slowking being able to check it with Scald.
Yeah, and potentially Mach Punch as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So this Blacephalon doesn't pick up a kill. This.
No, it doesn't. Standing theme. Both Blacephalons in both divisions have had a terrible week. Again, Jaime looks like he's struggling with the regen core. Unable to take out the Tangrowth with Terrakion and ends up sacking it to a Giga Drain. He's able to get in the Manaphy, but Tangrowth is just able to come back in. Puts up the Tail Glow.
Yeah, that Tangrowth just walls the Terrakion.
The Blizzard does come out, which is great, and he's able to strip away one half of the of that annoying regen core. And the Dragon Tail is pretty cool tech as well from the Slowking to get rid. Unfortunately, he rolls him. Well, to be fair, now that I think about it, being rolled into Slowking doesn't want to deal with either one. Granted, Sneasel's probably the worst of the two. Yeah, Sneasel's definitely the worst of the two to get in. The Mega T-Tar is instantly taken out by the low kick there from the Sneasel, and
I would like for Zaffrey to kind of scout out those fighting moves coverage, like a Brick Break or Low Kick.
Yeah.
With his Slow Kick.
The Focus Blast here taking out the Tran, and you can sort of like see the turn of the match.
Well, this Hitmontop put in work.
Yeah, for once. It's a rarity that we see that.
Pretty interesting fake out there. Interesting move to run.
Z Hail from the Manaphy here.
Well, that's why he was running Blizzard, but like I said, again, this Slowking just walls it, because I guess he has Blizzard.
But I don't know what, I mean...
Helgo, Blizzard, Skull, so he doesn't have energy.
Yeah, he doesn't have a way to handle the...
And I think if you would have just put Pursuit on that Sneasel...
The game becomes a lot easier.
That Manaphy can do work.
And the Hitmontop able to hear and clean up the game with the Mach Punch.
Yeah, so the main thing I want to discuss, right, is not something that he did badly in this game, but something he should have done. And this is something that all of Zaffr's opponents so far have explained, is that breaking Zaffr's team, breaking Zaffr's team is very hard. And look at, like, say he brings a Sneasel with Toxic Spike support. Every time Sneasel comes in, he has to go into Hitmontop to spin, which means it will get weakened, which will just weaken it for the next time Sneasel comes in. And then on the Hitmontop, you can just go back into a Selgor and get up more T-Spikes. And with T-Spikes up, something like Manaphy would have been able to break Slowking, and I think he would have won. So that's something both Zaffra has to watch out for, and his opponents have to keep in mind, in my opinion at least.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, Zaffra has a really slow team. Garchomp was fast. I think the Manaphy's both keeping up like a outlet.
I think it really shows as well the problems that Zaffra starts to have when that regen core collapses. Like, you saw it a little bit in this game, But I think from if I just scroll back to sort of
Might have to mute in a second.
that's fine. Just mute as and when you need, dude. Don't worry. Sort of from turn 23 when the Tangrowth went down, all the way up to when he was sort of able to regain control of the game around about turn 29 with the fake out Hitmontop.
Yeah.
He looked like he was in trouble on the back foot, and it stands to. I think it's proof that being over reliant on this regen core is not great when you end up in on the back foot, because when it cracks, his team has the potential to completely crumble. I mean, he pulled out a win here, so I can't be like overly critical. But yeah, the point is for me is that when that regen core cracks, he starts to sort of like really struggle, I think.
Yeah, his speed, I think, is everything's just super slow. Like I said, the Garchomp, after the Garchomp, tears are just super slow, and he has to bring stuff that is super bulky.
Yeah.
If somebody, plays aggressive against him and gets the right call or his team just falls apart.
Yeah,
but
completely agree.
I think Hyman should have not brought the Hail. This is my last note. I mean, he outspeeds practically his entire team already, and I just don't think Blizzard would have been nice. I think Ice Beam does enough to the Garchomp.
It depends on the roles versus AV Tangrowth, but I'm content in saying that +3 Ice Beam is more than enough. And in fact, like just standard Tail Glow 3 attacks Manaphy would have been more than enough to dismantle this team in the long run. Like Energy Ball for the Slow King would have been perfectly fine. Scald or Surf to handle Tyranitar, Heatran, Hitmontop.
And on Zappy's point, I think that he would have brought like Tox something to that Slow King. It just would have benefited him a lot.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I think those are all the notes that I have on that game.
Okay, let's see, who's next?
We have
Showen versus Nathan.
Yeah, this is your game. So the Heracross. You want to go last?
Yeah.
Cool. We'll shuffle you to the end then. So that puts us with Alex versus Confusion.
Yeah. Let me get the replay real quick.
Okay, Confusion's been having a hard season. Got relegated from blue to yellow, or promoted from blue to yellow, and just kind of hasn't found the way to use this team. But basically, his team consists of lots and lots of pivoting.
Yep.
And Alex, the way he brought the Mamo, the Regenix on the Salazzle, I think wants to kind of just like hit hard, kind of punish all those like Volt turn, U-turn, baton pass plays. So going to the match, leads off with Scissor, and Alex leads off with Rotom. Goes to Flygon. Alex reads that perfectly and just goes for a Will-O-Wisp. Although Will-O-Wisp, I think, was kind of
it was a fairly standard play against the Scissor, and given how physically orientated Confusion's team is,
well, this Flygon's not physical.
Well, yeah, it does reveal to be Draco Meteor, but that's handled perfectly well by Registeel.
I can already tell just by looking at team matchup that Rotom Wash is very annoying for Confusion.
Yep.
Rotom Wash is annoying in every match. So Flygon goes for the Draco, then proper to Registeel. You're gonna see the Flygon do what Flygon does best.
Get
Alex
out.
gets up his rocks. The Cobalion looks to be pressuring the Registeel. Gets up his rocks. Rotom, the most annoying thing in the world. Hydro Pumps with Sylveon. The Sylveon basically can wish up and kind of pivot all over. Alex has this Registeel, which normally you wouldn't stay in with a Sylveon, but I think he's like max defense, and the Sylveon's max defense. The Alex then goes for the T-Wave, and he does what Beery does, Iron Head, and T-Waves this Sylveon death, or low, so low health. Gets the first flinch, which is more than likely to be expected. Second flinch, and now the Sylveon either has to switch or die. Oh, it lives actually a little bit on left there.
I mean, it's at 11%, but it's still dead on return once it comes back in on rocks.
If he doesn't clear rocks.
Yeah, he does get the Darmin though.
Yeah, so I think Alex did a very good job pressuring the Sylveon down.
Yeah, I agree. Now Lottie looks good and the Rotom looks good.
Yeah.
And as long as Alex doesn't defog or let Fusion defog for free, that Sylveon should die pretty.
Yeah,
So
pretty easily.
the Flygon reveals its special Fire Blast. This is an Assault Vest Mammoth.
It's crazy.
The Ice Shard comes out. Obviously, Assault Vest, I think, probably doesn't take that bullet punch. Alex has a pretty safe switch to the Rotom. Confusion does a safe U-turn and brings out his Cobalion. Cobalion finally kills this Rotom. So now the Salazzle can come in, basically fire off a Fire Blast, Sludge. Thing I did bring in a mock against Alex was an Assault Vest Flygon. The Flygon just resists both dual stabs, but I think Alex goes for the HP Ice on the next turn after he reveals that he's faster. And then turn 18 is probably, I think it's a good play. It's HP Ground Scarf Scissor.
Scarfed HP Ground Scissor is probably prep of the week.
Yeah, it's certainly wild.
It gets kill, but at what cost? So it just catches Salazzle because nobody expects a Scarf on Scissor. And basically the Lottie kind of comes in for free and gets to basically get kills.
Yeah, picks up anything it wants really.
Yeah.
You okay there, Budzap?
And I agree that that was a nice bring and nice tech, but I just kind of feel it loses him so much momentum doing that. Because now we're just going to get the Cobalion in on the Mammo. Mammo dies in order for Alex to get one more free switch into Registeel. And I think he goes for the T-Wave. Oh no.
He goes... Yeah, he goes for counter, expecting the attack.
This is a dead because there's the Flare Blade. Persian comes out on Fusion's end, and I think the funniest thing is that this Persian loses more health by attacking than by just being Terra. Oh, sorry, the Registeel loses more health by attacking than
Yeah.
saves
Yeah.
because of Rocky. I think Fur Code. Virizion comes out, all minds up. Foul Play does nothing, special variant. The one attack justified doesn't do nothing. Alex gets back up to full. Persian puts it on a timer with Toxic.
Too little too late, I think, by that point.
Yeah. So now Persian has a shot, but he has to, I think, rely on Iron Head Flinching and Toxic damage. So if he would have gotten like a flinch there, I think and won the next speed tie, he could have won. Or if he would have won that speed tie and gotten a flinch, he could have won as well. Because the Latios, I think, was Psychic. Oh, it was Scarf, Latios.
Right.
So I guess it didn't matter. But good game played by Alex. Latios.
I mean, good game played by both. Like,
Yeah, I'd say Confusion played really well this game, and the only thing I kind of disagree with is the way he played his Sylveon. I get that he got flinched twice, but if he had kept his Sylveon, he would have been able to kind of wish pass around, have a switch into Latias, and if he were able to like wish pass onto the Darmanitan, he would just keep on pressuring the Rotom, eventually kill it, which would then open up the door for stuff like Scizor. So outside of that, I think Confusion played this game really well, and was really close as well.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
Don't really have too much else to add. Just gotta applaud him for the Scarf HP ground Scizor.
Fantastic prep. Right, I don't think I've got too much else to cover on that.
Right, wanna move on?
Yep, here we have. Well, this is your game actually, Zappy. This is you versus.
We should.
Cam can get on.
We'll
Yeah.
ask. We'll put out the request. We'll wait a couple of minutes to see if he. But he may be off and busy.
We could try do Nathan's games first.
Yeah, let's do that one.
Do you want to do your game first while we wait for Cam?
Let's do it.
All right, let's switch yours up. So our change to schedule.
Almelo is the most broken. Things like Tapu Koko, Charizard X, Bronzong, the best Trick Room setter in the game, and Tapu Bulu. The way I kind of attempted the prep was I didn't want to lose 6-0 to Hawlucha, and I didn't want to lose Charizard X.
One thing, Zappy, just before we continue. You seem to be like you're causing some static on your mic, I think, and it's causing like a weird noise.
Yeah, I'll try to hold my phone more still.
All right, no problem. Cool. Go on, continue, Nathan.
So, brings the Bronzong, Skuntank, Gastro, Zoroark, and Charizard X. I bring the Krosma, Nidoqueen, Cario, Weavile, and Latios, Mega Latios, / Latios with the Latios site. And basically my game plan is I think Weavile does really well against the game. I just need to weaken the Bronzong. I think Latios does as well because I'm a physical variant with D-Dance. But I don't have anything to hit the Bronzong. So my biggest thing is put up rocks, weaken the Bronzong. So I lead off with Nidoqueen, kind of to try and get rocks up turn 1 because I don't want to lose the Charizard.
Yep.
He gets up rocks. I go for Flamethrower, and he brings in the Skuntank. And obviously my next play is Earth Power. He baits me and brings back in the blue Bronzong. And so gets back up to full. I go for the Flamethrower. I'm doing about 37%. He goes for the Psychic.
Catches you with a
crits
crit.
Me. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to die the next Psychic as well, but I would have really liked to earn this, so I feel like I could have used it back fodder or get up rocks again later on in the game, but because of that crit, I kind of feel like I have to sack it off.
Yep.
So I go for one more Flamethrower, get this down to about 50%. Or, sorry, 31%. He goes for the middle ground play and Shadow Ball. So he's revealed Shadow Ball and Psychic. So one of my plans on going to break this Bronzong was to go SD Lucario. And so I SD up. His Psychics, he does a little bit over 50%. Well, yeah, there was rocks up, so I potentially, maybe with a roll, could have lived another Psychic, but I didn't want to try. So go for the CT. I'm also packing Extreme Speed and Meteor Mash, and that basically hits like his entire team.
Yep.
So he brings in the Coco. I don't know if this is Zoroark or not, so I just go for the E-Speed. And I do about 61%, which is more than enough. And I force him to take some recoil by going for Brave Bird.
Yep.
And then I bring in Necrozma. And the only way I could have beaten the Hawlucha was if I was seed Necrozma, and at +1 defense, I could technically kind of like revenge it, because I would assume he would be SD like Knock.
Yep.
So at +1, it was my way to handle it. I don't know if he's going to sack off Tapu Koko or not, so I want to go in and activate that E-Seed.
And this was good
he's
prep
got one
actually
dark
by
type.
you. This was impressive prep.
Yeah.
Yeah, really nice there.
I feel like he's going to go into Gunk Tank, so I go for Knock. I don't do anything, so I assume he's like, Crystal. And since I kind of see that he still hasn't gone in, I want to try and bait it out again. Go for Earthquake. And I still don't bait it out, but knock off on the turn. The knockoff takes off the leftovers off the gas, so he puts me on a timer and toxics me. At this point, I'm okay with it because I just want to keep this Gastro low and not let anything in kind of for free. So I'm okay kind of letting this thing die, but I just want to, how do I say this, weaken it as much as possible.
Yep.
So it's a losing battle, so I go Violet. And he Earth Power. I thought he would have recovered. Photon Geyser. He brings in Skunk Tank, and this, I go for a free Sleep Powder because I don't think he wants his Gastro to die.
You end up, well, you go through Strength Sap first, and I just want to comment on how quickly your HP bar like shoots up based on that Strength Sap. That's a bit of a wild mechanic. But yeah, you do end up getting the Sleep Powder off on the next turn, which is optimal for you.
Yeah, he defaults because he doesn't want the rocks up on Charizard.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a free. Then I Sleep Powder, and he doesn't. Since he moved first, and I moved after him, he hasn't burned a sleep turn.
Yep.
So he's still at 2 turns. So brings in Charizard X. I get the heck out of there, and I pull a double myself. Audio.
Yep.
I go for the Earthquake, and it's at this point that I say I don't have Latios, I have Varia. So I can't Mega Evolve, so you know that base 100 stats that I would get across the board, less. And so now I'm gonna like Dragon Dance up and try and beat this Gastrodon, get the Death Drop, something. He puts me on another timer with Toxic. So I switch out to Vileplume. I probably should have switched out to Vileplume knowing that I'd beat it 1v1, but I didn't. So finally I'm in with the Vileplume, and he goes for Charizard, and this turn is pretty big. I go for the Sludge Bomb knowing that he's not going to leave his Gastrodon in, and even if he does, the Gastrodon, because Strength Zap, I just heal up everything. And I get the Poison on Charizard X. So I'm doing about 42% on Sludge Bomb, so it's not a 2-hit KO, but if he Flare Blitzes me, he dies to Recoil, and if I get another Sludge Bomb on. But he doesn't. He ends up roosting, thinking that I'm going to switch out. I don't. I go for another Sludge Bomb, and I feel bad for the guy because I get a crit.
Yeah.
So now this charge, 22%, can't Flare Blitz because it died. So he's got to find an opportunity to kind of come back in on it and then roost, and then he can't even roost off because he's now on like turn 3 of Toxic. So I know he has to switch out.
Well, he's not toxic. He's just regular poisoned, which is 12%. but it's putting your sludge bombs over the 50% threshold.
Yeah.
So you're doing more than 50% collectively, so he can't roost. Yeah, you're correct in that.
Yeah. So, if that's not enough hack, I come in and bring in Latios, I Psychic, and I get the Spidef drop on the Gastro, which is really bad because now I know he has to save that, and I just Earthquake, and he has the Stickleberry, he lives the Earthquake. Still hasn't burnt a sleep tree. So I Dragon Dance because I feel that's basically a free Dragon Dance. He could have Sucker Punched here if he had it, but
He was asleep anyway.
I don't know. I just don't think he had it. He had Defog. I just don't think. And I feel like it's more likely in my favor he's asleep as opposed to waking up. He ends up dying to the next DQ. I end up dying to the Toxic. I bring in Vileplume. He brings in Coco. I still don't know what Z move he is, if he is. I think I covered he was. But I live a Brave Bird, and I don't think he's Z Brave. So I feel pretty safe in kind of just strength sapping the Charizard X potentially come in. Next play, I mentioned to him that, hey, Gunk Tank is dead, so Sleep Claws is no longer in effect. I can Sleep Powder if I want to.
Yeah, you can try.
Calls my bluff. And Electric Terrain is still up. So
Wasn't much of a bluff then, was it?
No. So Gastrodon, basically his play is to kind of get us the death drop on this Vileplume. And Vileplume can basically heal up to 100%. I was trying to get the Charizard X or the Zoroark in on a Strength Sap.
Yep.
It didn't work. He called my bluff again, and eventually I figured out he's not going to switch out, but go for the Giga Drain, get back up to full HP. So Charizard comes in, and it's looking to kill Vileplume. And the Vileplume is sitting at 100% HP, and he Flare Blitzes, and Vileplume eats it with an Aqua Berry, but it still takes 74%. I go for Sludge Bomb, kill the Charizard X, and now he's got two Mons, he's got a Coco, and he's got a Zoroark against Vileplume. But the Vileplume has done more than enough job. I think it got like 2 to 3 kills potentially.
That Vileplume put in a load of work, a huge amount of work versus his team.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And so he's got the Coco, which is now suddenly back to 104 HP somehow.
That's because it's a Zoroark.
Immediately, that's what I am. So he Dark Pulses, I just kind of leave it for fodder. I bring in my Weavile. I know this is Zoroark, and I'm Scarf Weavile because, like I said in the beginning, I'm scared of Charizard X. So
Were you foul play Weavile?
Huh?
Say that
Were
again.
you foul play on Weavile?
Yes, that was recommended to me, I think, by Illusion.
That's really cool. Props for that
Foul
set.
play, Ice Crash. Well, I did the calcs. I thought it was going to be okay, but I think Foul Play does about 70, but Ice Crash does less than, so he could roost up on me.
Yeah, that's a really cool set.
So, Dark Pulse, I proceed to Ice Crash. I miss my first one. I get the second one, and I do
Ah!
Dark Pulse.
Zappy's having some sort
I
of
feel like
aneurysm.
just switched
Yeah,
in
my bad.
Coco. I feel like he could have switched in Coco and brought back in the Zoroark and potentially maybe somehow salvage it. I'm not sure. But basically, I think he kind of stacked the Zoroark to Ice Crash. And as long as I hit this next Ice Crash, and I do, and I even crit, but it didn't matter. I think I still
Yeah, it was
won.
definitely a KO.
And at least I didn't beat up.
Yeah, well, don't spoil for future weeks, please. We'll all get to.
But do you guys want to mention anything you've done differently, or
No,
besides the sleep?
I'm very impressed with the prep that you brought.
Yeah, very nice prep. Agreed.
The scarf foul play, which you didn't reveal, but actually I didn't know about it at the time, was really solid. And the Vileplume, the Vileplume put in a ton of work. Electric Seed Necrozma, yeah, Zappy, you're right. Excellent set to bring, very good defensively. Shame that you didn't have your Latiosite on your Latios. I think that would have been a big help to you. And yeah, the Nidoqueen, it did its job for the first couple of turns of the game, and the Lucario put in its shift as well. I think you got the best out of everything on the team, and the tech that you brought to handle Showen's team just shone through. Yeah, excellent. Nothing further, Your Honor. Anything from Zappy? Or is that it?
No, just that was it. Nice game.
Excellent. Right, so that wraps up our penultimate game. Unfortunately, Cam seems to be away, so unfortunately we'll do the replay without him. So in our ultimate game of our scheduled we have the PEC Buzzwole versus the Dublin Dunsparce in a match that is a rematch of the last season's finals. So
yeah, hyped. That's all I can say.
It was hyped. So Zappy, talk us through sort of like what you were thinking at team preview here with this match.
So there are two main things I thought about, right? First of all, there was no Mew, so I knew my Celesteela set was pretty much was super expendable. I could basically send it in on anything because I didn't need it at all for anything. By the way, my set was like I was mental herb toxic to lure the Mew. And then also I realized I made a last minute change. I was originally I was Tom 3 attacks Gallade, right? But I originally had X Scissor, and I changed it to Throat Chop because the mismatches was a big threat, but I accidentally deleted Leaf Blade. So I was Throat Chop X Scissor, meaning my Gallade set was hard-rolled by Azumarill. So I also figured I could play very loosely with my Gallade, which is going to show in the first few turns. And then outside of that, I realized I was a bit weak to Jolteon, and yeah, that was really it.
Cool.
Also pretty weak to mismatches, but yeah, those were my main thoughts.
Great. So let's jump into the opening turns. Celesteela versus Jolteon.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, I didn't need Celesteela too much, so I went with it as a lead. Then I just pivoted into Hydreigon on the T-Bolt, pretty just safe play. I U-turned, knowing if he stays in, I'll get off some decent damage. He reveals Quick Feet for my Celesteela, so that's nice tech. He just HP Ices as I U-turn again, and I get in my Gallade, knowing I live any hit, and I just throw off a Drain Punch, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, he T-bolts, and I just kill him off with the Drain Punch, so that's very nice. He then switched in his Mismatches, and this is where not having Leaf Blade basically made me stay in. So I clicked Throat Chop, trying to sack my Gallade for damage. Also, a Shadow Ball. I think I lived a Shadow Ball with my Gallade because it was pretty bulky. And he misses Wisp, so I'd like to pause it here. I'm not sure if you've gone.
Don't worry, I'm paused because this was a fairly big.
Yeah, so I was trying to sack off my Gallade for damage on this because I needed Donphan was my main check, and I needed that for Nihilego, so I just tried to get off damage as he missed Wisp, which was very unfortunate for him. However, if he hit the Will-O-Wisp, I would have clicked Throat Chop again, and it would have either killed Mismatches, or I would have gotten off damage on something else. He'd probably go into like Azu, which I would have just taunted, and then my Gallade would have died. So because I didn't really need my Gallade, in my mind, I don't think it mattered too much because I was gonna sack it pretty soon anyways. However, this just makes it so that he's forced to sack at least one more Mon, or at least play around my Gallade very differently. So going on from here, I just throw Chop again, safe play as he goes into Azu, and right here, because I don't need my Celesteela and I figure a player off is coming, I just go into it, and that's banded as fuck. Then I click Toxic because I have Acrobatics on this, but I still have my item, so Toxic is my best way to hit Azu, and he just player offs again, and I then click EQ because it's my hardest hitting move. He goes Mismagius, I Toxic him again because Acro doesn't kill. He burns me and then just kills me off with a T-Bolt, I believe. Yeah, so Celesteela down. Then right here, I go back into my Gallade, and I just click Throat Chop again, as he goes into Surf. Now, this is a pretty questionable turn. This is the main thing why why the Wisp mattered. He didn't realize that my Gallade was walled by Azu. Of course, he couldn't, but I did. So he went into Serp. And I really wanted damage on Serp for my Milotic to become more annoying. So I just click Drain Punch here as he glares me, and he then just Leaf Storms me. Oh no, he goes to Mismagius as I click Drain Punch again. I guess he saved a Serp for the Milotic. I then just, knowing I live a hit, I just click Throat Chop as he Dazzling Gleams me. And he goes into Serp. This is where he Leaf Storms me. Gallade lives it, and I kill off the Serp with an X-Scissor. So Gallade did a lot more work than it was supposed to, and that's definitely unfortunate for Cam. However, I think I had other ways to win if he did kill off my Gallade, and I also think that Glare was kind of a misplay on his part, so he shouldn't have had the Mismagius die. Yeah. But that's just my opinion. He then just picks me off with his Azumarill with the Aqua Jet. I go into my Milotic, trying to get off my Flame Orb. I click Scald, thinking he'll switch out, which he does. I burn the Nihilego, which doesn't matter too much because it's in range of everything that it has to be in range of. I go into my Donphan, pretty safe play on the rocks because I'm Rindo Spadef, so I eat any hit. He goes to Azu as I click EQ. Not wanting him to get a free switch into the Como. I then just pivot out into my Milotic pretty safely, and right here I think I click Recover. Yeah, I recover as he goes back into Nihilego. Now I have a Scarfed Hydreigon with Earth Power in the back, so I just go into Donphan, not really fearing him two-shotting me. As he goes into Komodo, and right here I just go into my Milotic because I don't really need it since the Azu is very low. He sets up a sub, and I ran Ice Beam just for this set, so I break the sub as he gets up a Belly Drum and kills my Milotic. So he kind of fucked up the EVs because he was sub Salag, but his HP wasn't divisible by 4. However, I had Scarfed Hydra in the back, so I would have been able to revenge him either way. I then go into my Rabombi, and I click Moonblast on the Nihilego, which it eats. I didn't have HP Ground because I wanted Quiver Dance to break the Mew, so I'm forced onto my Donphan again as he clicks Sludge Bomb. And right here, I decide to click Spin to make sure that my Hydreigon can come in on rocks enough so that he can't kind of stall me out with Azu. So I click Spin as he doubles into Komodo, and I just click Rocks then, because I have my I have Scarfed Hydreigon on the back, so I'm always gonna be able to revenge Komodo, and if I get up Rocks, Azumarill basically dies, meaning that my Hydreigon should be able to clean in the end game. And then I just EQ, I sack my Donphan to the Komodo to a couple of Drain Punches, EQ him a couple of times, he gets into Salak, I go into my Hydreigon and I just clean up with Scarfed Earth Power and Rocks. So yeah, that was the final game.
Yeah, I think definitely a bit unfortunate that the Salak Berry didn't pop for him, but like you said, you did have the Scarfed Hydra, which he didn't expect. He actually spoke to me during a lot of his prep, and he was having like nightmares over your team. The matchup he felt was like so poor that he was just focused on like 6 mons he thought you'd bring, which I can definitely understand. I think I don't know how to like analyze the game as a whole. I think I agree with a lot of what you said about the game. I think the glare was a bit of a struggle play for him, and the Will-O-Wisp miss was huge.
Yeah.
I definitely think
it was.
The glare. I wasn't a fan of it, but I think his game plan at that point, having already missed the Willow, was to fish for a full para and get Serp up to +4. That way it pressures.
Well, the main thing that's questionable is that he glared and then straight away switched into Mismagius. So if he was going for the para, he should have just stayed in, I think. But
yeah, maybe.
I'm not gonna get into too many details because it's the podcast, not a personal video. But I think even if the Willow miss didn't happen, I still could have won. Mainly, we would have just been a lot more reliant on my Hydreigon. Yeah, that's what I'll say.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's a fair analysis. Any final comments from you then, Nathan?
No, I think it was pretty fair analysis, turn by turn. I do agree. It was. I don't know if he went for Dazzling Beam, Shadow Ball probably wouldn't have done too much more than the Dazzling Beam. And the Dazzling Beam, I think, didn't do too much work. But I think Cam was having to kind of make predictions and try to get in that Hydreigon. It was a Dazzling Beam on the Hydreigon.
Yeah, it was a tough game for Cam. Full stop. I think for this week.
I think he got on the back foot, and I really would have wanted to see that Como do kind of some more. I wanted to see that Como do some more work, but I think that comes down to Cam kind of having to do some testing in mocks maybe or something before he does something like that.
Yeah, I agree. That was a big unfortunate aspect, I think, of.
Generally, though, I think Cam had some very nice prep. Especially the Quick Feet Jolteon was very cool in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a great answer to to an autotomized Stealer.
Yeah. So I think that just about wraps it up, doesn't it?
Predictions, but.
Oh, right, predictions. Well, yeah, predictions are a little hard. If we just do predictions for week 7 or week 6, whatever we're on right now.
Yeah, we're a little bit far behind.
The fourth wall.
We'll have to catch up as best we can. Right, I think that concludes everything for week 3. There's no point making predictions because they're all long done for week 4.
Yeah.
But thank you both very much for joining me this evening. It's been a pleasure to have your insights. Thank you, Zappy, for standing in last minute as well on the potential bail that we had. Much appreciated. Thank you very much to Emma Sky, who unfortunately had to leave the cast a little bit early this evening, but thank you for all his input and talking about his games. And thank you to you, Nathan, for standing in and making this all happen, because Lord knows if you hadn't, REDCast may have just died after 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Sad. Rest in peace.
Probably my last one of the season, so.
Alright, so thank you very much, gents. If you want to say your goodbyes.
Well, it's been fun being here, and yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye, REDCast. make sure you leave some comments for some torture for Cal in the section
Yeah.
below.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
please
torture
outline
cow.
some punishments for the one lonely cow after his despicable loss to Jaime of his own request. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. I am your host Regenix, signing off.